Hello everyone, welcome to the Tristar Gym channel. I'm just gonna wait for this to upload here to load in. Hopefully everybody can hear me loud and clear and see me now. Guys, give me a thumbs up on the sound, please. As always, give me a thumbs up. Khabib wants GSP, Jim Milton. Yes, sir, I know that. Very well, very aware of that. Yes. Give me a thumbs up, guys, on the audio. Let's make sure everything is tip top. You know, my button pushing skills are very weak. All right, we got a thumbs up. Thank you, Sahil, my friend. Thank you very much. Imad, Hamid, thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got green lights here, and let's get started. I want to kick this off with the discussion on Cejudo versus Dillashaw. What an incredible fight. I got a chance to watch it, and let me tell you something. I was really impressed by Henry Cejudo, and definitely want to break down this fight. I know the fight didn't last very long. Obviously, all of you now have heard who's won by now. It's all over the internet, so I'm not going to give you guys a spoiler alert. I'm just going to jump right into it. Cejudo gets a stoppage in round one. Now, a lot of people are saying, some people are saying that this was an early stoppage or whatnot. Tough to say, very tough to say. But you know what? I rewatched the tape and I watched it in slow-mo, and you do see Dillashaw buckle 3 times. He buckled once, then there was a scramble, some more strikes, he buckled again, and then a third time. I thought after rewatching it, I thought it was a good stoppage. I got to be honest. I thought it was a good stoppage. Why? Because I just think he was going to take unnecessary damage. Now, I really think that this fight should happen again. There should be a rematch. Not because it wasn't a clean victory. It definitely was a clean victory. But I would like to see TJ fight Henry Cejudo 135. I didn't like the weight cut. I didn't like the way it looked on TJ. TJ is a brilliant fighter. I've actually worked with him in the past. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a very smart guy, very cerebral. However, I think that when you dehydrate yourself at that level, you don't know it, but it definitely, you might not be aware of it, but you definitely hurt your performance. So let me give you guys a little rundown on that. One time we were at a coaches summit. I had a coaches summit, and there was a military expert there. He was talking to us about dehydration and studies that they've done in the military. Again, this was in, I believe it was in Las Vegas. Yes, we're in Las Vegas. And the UFC had brought us in for a coaching summit with all sorts of experts. And one of these experts was an expert on hydration and the studies that they've done on soldiers in the U.S. Army. And they came to the conclusion that even their most elite soldiers, they run them through a gauntlet. They make them shoot, go through various obstacles. Even the most elite soldiers, whenever they were dehydrated, their performance suffered. And I remember him saying was 2% dehydration, just 2%, resulted in 6% lack in power or performance. It was, I believe it was performance or power. I can't remember exactly which it was, but he said, look, we couldn't dehydrate our soldiers more than a certain amount because it was considered unethical. So we don't know if further dehydration, what it does to the body. We don't know. We don't have a body of data. However, they do have a controlled body of data. They do. And they said that the most elite, experienced, mentally tough character we have in the army, even them, if they're dehydrated, their performance suffers. So you might feel good, of course, fighters are so mentally tough. They're going to tell themselves they feel good. They're going to tell themselves they're pumping themselves up. They're trying to give themselves some confidence. However, it felt to me like, especially after Henry had pushed them, when they first traded, their bodies collided, and Henry just kind of shoved Dillashaw, and Dillashaw fell down to the ground. Listen, Dillashaw's a very athletic, strong, physical guy. I felt it had a lot to do with his dehydration. That's what I think, because I'm very shocked and surprised that anybody can push TJ Dillashaw to the ground like that. I mean, it could happen if you're off balance or whatnot, but he's such an athletic, strong, experienced fighter that I did find that very surprising. And I do think it had a lot to do with the dehydration. Now, of course, Cejudo is a brilliant fighter, world champion wrestler. I mean, gold medalist in the Olympics in freestyle wrestling, that's something. To win a gold medal in freestyle wrestling is not easy. It's a very competitive field, and not to win a world championship in the UFC and then to beat Dillashaw, the bantamweight champion. This is some incredible accomplishments for Cejudo. This is going to make him, a legend of the sport, no doubt. However, I do think this fight should happen again at bantamweight. I do believe Cejudo has a very strong chance to win, especially now that he has one win over Dillashaw. I think the rematch at 135 would be brilliant. Very interesting. Yeah, the way he pushed him off shocked me. That's from Venom Musk. Yes, very surprising. Very surprising because Dillashaw is a very physical guy. He's a very strong guy. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that he was surprised, but also very dehydrated. TJ needs to come to tsdorms. Well, he has, Young Pep. Yeah, it's from Young Pep. Young Pep says TJ needs to come to tsdorms. Yes, definitely welcome him back. Fun having TJ in the gym. We've had him twice in the gym already. Fun guy to spar with. Very physical guy. Like I said, very tough, hard-working guy. Very hard-working guy. Getting real ready for his fights. But came up short with Cejudo, and I think it had a lot to do with the dehydration. I don't think a human body should cut that far. It's too much. It's not, I don't know if this is true, but I've been told that like when you're dehydrated, you're more liable to being concussed because your brain, when it lacks in volume, it has more chance to move. Once you get hit in the head, it has more likeliness to shift and move, and that's what causes knockouts or whatnot. I've also read that nobody really knows what causes a knockout. I think this is a very it's not a very well understood phenomenon. Why knockouts occur, why people get dazed when they get hit. However, I've been dehydrated, and I can tell you, it doesn't feel good. I've been dehydrated many times in my life, and you definitely don't feel strong. You definitely don't feel quick, and in my opinion, it's very bad for fighting. All right, guys, let me hear your thoughts on the rest of the card. I did watch some of the fights. I also watched Hernandez versus Cowboy Cerrone, another incredible fight. Such a great fight. I really felt that Hernandez was doing really well in the first half of the round, round one. And then Cowboy started to creep up and kind of land some really nice knees and some nice strikes as well. Round two, Cowboy just seemed to put on a pace that Hernandez couldn't keep up with, and eventually landed a beautiful KO. Head kick that led to a TKO. But that head kick, Hernandez leading into it, had his hand up, blocked it partially, but that kick just went through that one arm, dazed him, and Cowboy just got on top of him and finished it up. Brilliant performance by Cowboy. Really brilliant performance. And now they're talking that Cowboy might be fighting Conor McGregor, which is going to be another epic battle. I hope that fight really does happen. That's going to be an epic battle. And I think it's a good fight for Conor. If Conor wins that fight, he can fight Khabib again or fight whoever's a world champion. That would be such a big win for McGregor. If McGregor can get that win, it'll put him in title contention for sure, no doubt about it. However, Donald Cerrone is not an easy guy to get past. I thought he would look really big for 155. I thought he looked really, really big next to Hernandez. And I've seen Hernandez. He's a big dude. He's a big 155er. He's a very athletic guy. Very athletic guy. Not an ounce of fat on his body. Shredded. Just pure muscle. And I felt that Cowboy made him look a little bit small. Cowboy's been at welterweight now, so he's gotten a little bit bigger. And I think that size, he carried it well in the ring. I think we have a super chat here. Hey, coach, to become a pro fighter without good high-level sparring partners, are you have to go to another training camp? That's from Archie BJJ. Yes, you know what, if you don't have high level sparring partners, you need to travel and go do a week or 2 weeks. Come to the Tristar dorms. Send Tristar dorms an email today. Tell them, hey, how much would it cost me to come down for 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And you'll get plenty of great sparring there, and I'm sure you'll just hit another level right away. At least you'll come back home with a better understanding of what fighting is, of what training is. So I definitely highly recommend that. What else we got here? Lots of great fights on the weekend, but the performance of the night for me was definitely Henry Cejudo, and then after that, Cowboy Cerrone. Really two epic performances by both those fighters. Hernandez, Alexander Hernandez, for sure is going to be in the top 5 in the near future. This kid's very, very talented, very tough, hard-hitting, smart, very physical. He just took on a guy with more experience than him a little too early in his career, probably just a little bit too early. However, I think this tees up Cowboy for a fight with Conor McGregor, which is going to be very exciting, and I think it's going to be on the horizon. I think From what I understand, McGregor tweeted him right after the fight saying, hey, I'll give you a fight. So I think McGregor's obviously at that point right now. He can fight pretty much anybody he wants. Everybody wants to fight him because it's a huge payday. And everybody's going to watch a Conor fight no matter who he's fighting. And Cowboy's a fan favorite. Cowboy's a super fan favorite. Obviously, McGregor's a super fan favorite. So this is probably going to be the fight they're going to make. For us, where do you want to go to train with? That's from Alvaro. You know what? I do travel quite a bit, but my favorite place to train is at the Renzo Gracie Academy. I really like it. I really like it there. Obviously, I get to hang out with my old mentor, John Danaher, and the training there is just phenomenal. Plus, I like to go train at Phil Nurse's place. Phil Nurse has a Muay Thai gym in Manhattan, in New York. It's phenomenal. They have so many great kickboxers there. It's just berserk. And definitely like to spend a lot of time there. How much will you take to get you in the ring with McGregor? That's from Ali. Ali, not much. Honestly, it would be a very reasonable price. Very reasonable. What kind of business do you run? Okay, that's from Dion. Greg Hardy knee. I did see that. Really bad knee. I think it was due to, I know he has a shady past. I know he's been, he's got some baggage, criminal stuff or whatnot. And I heard that in the NFL, even he's been reprimanded or whatnot. That knee was just blatantly just illegal, 100% illegal. Maybe it was inexperience. I don't know the guy, but the guy also doesn't have much of a clean record. From what I understand, he's got a lot of criminal or disciplinary history, a history of being disciplined. I don't know the guy much, but that knee was just horrifically illegal, just really illegal. And the thing is, when you don't expect to be kneed and you get a knee in the head, it's just horrible. If this was Japan rules and he got kneed, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, because when you're down, you're like, hey, a knee might be coming, very likely coming. You can kind of brace yourself. But when I saw that knee hit, I was like, that's just, it's too much. It's too much of an illegal strike. Even though you put them back on their feet, you give them a 5-minute break, the guy might, his legs might be gone after a knee like that. It's just too much of a fight-changing illegal shot. And just bad, you just can't make it. You just can't make a mistake like that. If you're a professional fighter, that shouldn't happen. Not that blatant. What else we got here? Let's keep it on the fight night, and then we'll move on to other questions. All right, one guy just got kicked out. Hide user on this channel. You've been kicked out. The illegal knee rule is ridiculous anyways. I don't know about that. That's from Matt W. Matt thinks that the illegal knee rule is ridiculous. Honestly, I don't think so. I think it's too dangerous. If you're downed opponent, if you have your knee on the ground and I knee you in the head, I'm going to scramble your brains. Okay. Now, this sport of ours is a great sport. However, the number one downside to our sport, the number one downside to MMA is concussion. I wish we could take concussions out of the equations and everybody competes and nobody gets concussions. That would be the best. However, it's not the case. Now, if we allowed knees to downed opponents, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a surge of concussions. Now, these are human beings where, they're getting knocked out, they're going home, and we think everything is hunky-dory. It's not. These guys have to live with rehabbing from a concussion. A concussion can happen again and again, and all of a sudden the guy has to retire now, or he's not the same, or he's struggling with ups and downs, emotional ups and downs. He's irritable. He's not as quick as he used to be. We don't want that. That's the dark side of MMA. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So for me in the gym, I'm very wary about that. In training, in fighting, I want guys to avoid that as much as possible. It's the dark side of MMA. Like when we had the Pride and they allowed soccer kicks on the ground, I thought that was absurd. Why? Why is it absurd? Because these are human beings that, they're getting their brains scrambled, for goodness sake. A soccer kick has too much power. If you hit somebody in the head with a soccer kick, you can literally, in my opinion, if there was a strike that's going to kill somebody, that's probably likely it. Okay, because the lower the kick, the more powerful the kick. Okay, when I'm raising my leg to a head kick, I lose a lot of power along the way. I lose a lot of velocity on the way to the head. When I'm kicking your leg, it's a lot easier for me to generate power. So if you're a downed opponent and I can kick you, you're down, I can kick you to the head. That's the strike. If anybody's gonna die from a strike, it's probably gonna be like a soccer kick or a knee to the head. They're just, in my opinion, too dangerous. Really, really too dangerous. Did you see Hardy's guard? I didn't see Hardy's guard. I fast forwarded through that. I did see the illegal knee. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole. I didn't get a chance to sit down and watch the whole show. I will be going back to it and checking it out. However, I did see the illegal knee because I had heard about it. I saw a highlight. I wanted to rewatch it and check it out again. But I did not watch Hardy's guard. No. How good did Gillespie look to you? That's from Really Real. Really Real, I thought he looked amazing. That was just fantastic performance. I thought Yancy looked drawn out. I think he looks better at 170. I think his frame may be too small for 155. Again, that's for, Yancy Medeiros to figure out for himself, see which weight class he felt better. But I just felt like I feel like Yancy's a very good fighter. He's very experienced. Just at that weight class, it's just a tough weight cut. It looked like it was a tough weight cut for him. And it just looked like he was not as quick as he usually is, because Yancy is a very good fighter. He's a very tough guy to deal with. However, Gillespie's performance was flawless, and he's just a very dominant guy. He's another guy that I've been in the practice room with. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to roll with him, but I've been in the practice room with him at the Renzo Gracie Academy. And I remember when I was at that practice, I had a torn LCL. And I was wearing a brace, and I was just rehabbing, and we didn't get a chance to roll. I was just kind of flow rolling that day because I was just coming off an LCL injury. And but definitely a very physical guy, very tough guy, and he's gonna be a very, very interesting fighter to watch in the 155 division. Very interesting. Cejudo versus Benavidez, or Cejudo goes up to bantam. I think that's from Mamad. Mamad, I really think he needs to fight Dillashaw again. Why? Not that I disagree with the stoppage. I don't disagree with the stoppage. I just think that he could maybe beat Dillashaw again, but this time at bantamweight. Let's see what happens between those two at bantamweight, and then we may have a trilogy fight. Or if he wins again, I think everybody will be satisfied. Everybody will be satisfied. Cejudo's the champ, double champ. I think he's a great candidate to be a double champ. But they have to do it at bantamweight, in my opinion. Let's see. Was it just a weight cut, or is he that much better than Dillashaw? It's just a... Plus, we have a lot of people that disagree with the stoppage. A lot of people disagree with the stoppage. Guys, just a quick note, guys. We have free shipping now at jujiclub.com for the first t-shirt. This is jujiclub.com's... Hold on, I'll give you guys a better look. I really love this shirt, by the way, guys. It's a great shirt. It's got a stretchy feel. It's got a nice fit and a stretchy feel. We have free shipping now to the U.S., the continental US. If you buy this shirt, you support the channel. We're gonna have a new shirt coming up maybe in a month or two. We're gonna give you guys a chance to vote on the next shirt, but this is the official first shirt. So if you guys want to support this channel, go to jujiclub.com, pick up one of my 2 instructionals that I've released now, Lockdown Guard and Pass Prevention Guard. Great reviews on those guards. Check them out. You guys are gonna enjoy them for sure. And pick up a shirt. Support this channel, and sooner than later, we're gonna have a vote for you guys to do, and on the next shirt. So I'm gonna be putting up different kind of logos we might have, new shirt designs, and you guys will vote, and that's the next shirt we're gonna print. What else we got here? Please get a new shirt design, Omar. Yes, I will get you a new shirt design. But this is our official first shirt. Pick one up, support this channel. Next shirt, you guys are going to vote on it. So I'm going to make sure that we get a shirt that everybody decided on. Sir, can you do YouTube live about an hour earlier? No, I'm actually, this is the best time I can do. Coach, what do you think about Kat Zingano's appeal for her loss to Megan Anderson? I saw that kick, toe in the eye. I don't know, gray area. Really gray area. I think, it's just the way the cookie crumbles, that's just the way it is. It's not, I understand, people are saying, if a finger in the eye is illegal, why not a toe in the eye? Yes, I get it. But when you kick, I don't think she was trying to put her toe in Kat Zingano's eye. I personally wouldn't want to win that way, to be honest with you. I've seen it before in MMA. I've seen it in regional shows. A guy gets kicked and literally the toe goes in the eye, and It's not the way you want to win a fight. I get it. I just totally get it. I understand the frustration. But normally, from what I've seen in the past, they don't overturn it. Just let it be. I think if slow motion replay shows that a toe went in the eye, you shouldn't win with any type of attack to the eye. Any attack to the eyeball itself, there shouldn't be a win. Why? Because people can literally go back and train to stick their toe in your eye. Literally, it's not. I know it sounds crazy, but you could get really good at poking somebody in the eye with your toes. There's a guy out there who'll figure it out. He'll be like, hey, there's a flaw in the rules, and exploit it. I don't think there should be any injury to the eye that results in victory. Personally, if you're asking me, my personal opinion, and that's all it is. Just personal opinion. There's no logical way to kind of convince anybody about this. It's just personal opinion. I think eyes are off limits completely. Why? Because we'll all get wise to it. We'll all get wise to it, and all of a sudden we're finding different ways to attack the eye, and people start going blind. It's just it's a flaw in the rules. How do you increase fight IQ? That's from Beast. Beast, listen, I'll tell you something. You got to watch a lot of fights. And if you watch thousands of fights, I watch thousands and thousands of fights. I watch fighting every day. I think you see the same kind of scenarios happening over and over again. The same scenarios over and over again happening all the time. And I think you increase your fight IQ just by observing the patterns and going on in fights. And then you find the guy who out there, he's going out there and he knows the patterns. He knows what this guy's going to do, and he kind of figures them out before he even does it. I think that's what fight IQ does. All fighters should wear goggles. That's from Venom. Venom, if you can invent a pair of goggles that people can actually fight in, man, you'd make millions. What else we got here? What else we got here? For us, how do you think Cowboy can deal with Khabib's ground game? Can he submit him? That's from Santa Claus. Santa Claus asking about Khabib versus Cerrone. That would be such an interesting fight. I've trained with Cerrone in the past, years ago, and he used to come to Tristar Gym. I've been to Greg's, and we've rolled and we've trained. He has a great guard. He does have a fantastic guard. Plus, he can take a lot of punishment. I'll tell you something about Cowboy in the practice room. He would spar 5 rounds of fighting, 5 rounds of MMA, and everybody would that's usually the max everybody does. And he'd be like, Coach, I want more. Is there anybody else left to spar? And I would go get my gear and I'd spar with him. I was the coach. I'd run practice. He would do 5 rounds. Everybody was done. I would ask people, hey, you guys, anybody want to go with Cowboy? Take a little break and jump back in. Everybody was like, hey, 5 is plenty for me. 5 rounds, 5 minutes. That's 25 minutes. And I would just put the gloves on with him. And this guy just wouldn't get tired. Cowboy's conditioning is just brilliant. Just brilliant, man. It's just phenomenal how his conditioning would hold up, how durable he is. He's a very durable guy. Incredible chin. I know his body, obviously those of you who know Cowboy well, he's been very susceptible to the body. When he lost to Dos Anjos, he got hit in the body, he kind of folded. When he fought Pettis, he kind of got hit to the body. When he fought Robbie Lawler, it's actually a great fight. Robbie Lawler won round number 1 against Cowboy. Round number 2 went to Cowboy. And then round number 3, Cowboy is really looking really good until Robbie Lawler started going to the body. Robbie started to rip the body, and you saw Cowboy have a reaction. And he's talked about it in press conferences before. Cowboy's talked about having a weak body. He says that about himself. He says, "Look, I got a weakness in my body." I've heard that he's had a car accident or something, or a motorcycle accident or something, and he had a surgery to his body, and his body is just not what it used to be or whatnot. And but if you fought Khabib, I don't think really goes to the body. I don't think he goes to the body. I've never really, I don't remember seeing Khabib land a body shot and go, wow, that's a beautiful body shot. Like if you fought, let's say, a Barboza. Now, Barboza goes to the body. He goes hooks to the body. He goes kicks to the body. He goes knees to the body. I think that could be a problem for Donald. However, I don't think Khabib goes to the body. And Donald's got such a good ground game and such durability that if he gets back up to his feet between rounds, let's say he doesn't get up on his own, he just keeps getting up back to his feet, I think it'd be a very interesting fight. Very interesting fight. Khabib versus Donald Cerrone. Very, very interesting fight. What are your thoughts on Brian Ortega coming up against Khabib? That's from Ian Ross. Ian, tough fight for Brian Ortega. I'll tell you why. Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu is brilliant. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. And he could conceivably catch Khabib in a guillotine, no doubt. You know, he's a submission ace. However, at that level that these two guys are at, the weight difference would be too big, in my opinion. It's just be too big. I think when you get to the world-class level, 10 pounds is huge. Brian Ortega makes 145. Khabib makes 155. That 10 pounds, I think, is a massive difference. Massive. Plus, I think Khabib hits a lot harder. Khabib is a hard puncher. I've heard guys train with him, and they've told me he hits hard. When I see him punch, I think he's a hard hitter. And I think he'll set up takedowns, and it'll just be too big on top. You know, again, we don't know. We'd have to see them fight, but I think that 10-pound weight difference is just it's a lot. And Khabib's jiu-jitsu is A1. You know, it's primo, so it'll be a difficult thing to deal with. Adesanya versus Anderson Silva. I talked about that fight in the past. I think it's Adesanya's time. I think Adesanya should win this fight. You know, and I think if we see Anderson shoot like a takedown, I think he's just gonna get stuffed. I think it's gonna be a stand-up affair, and I think Adesanya is gonna edge him out. Ricky says Gaethje will beat Khabib. That will be a tough fight to sell. I think. I don't think Gaethje's. I think he's an incredible fighter. I think he's got a lot of. He's a fan favorite. I think he's on a win streak. Yes, yes, he is on a win streak. He's doing well, but I'm not sure he's ready for. I don't think he's done enough to get a fight against Khabib. I think there are other guys in line. I think there's McGregor. Ferguson. Of course, Ferguson is next in line. If there's somebody else who's going to get a shot at Khabib, I think it's got to be Ferguson. MVP versus Paul Daley. Now, that is another fight I'm very much looking forward to. This is a very exciting fight. Now, let me tell you something. I always love to watch. One thing that gets me really excited, I love to watch a good karate guy versus a good Muay Thai guy. Now, I know Paul Daley is more of a hybrid kickboxing, Muay Thai, Dutch-style kickboxing, you know. He's not pure Muay Thai, but he's got a lot of Muay Thai. You know, the Dutch style is heavy-handed, and we all know that Paul Daley is a great puncher as well. He's not just a Thai guy. He's got that Dutch flavor. I love to see karate versus Dutch kickboxing or Muay Thai, and I think this is going to be a super display for the fans. You know, the fans who know Michael Venom Page, you guys know he's got that karate style, that Wonderboy, old school karate blitzing style angles, Raymond Daniels type of kicks. I can't wait to see that fight. Like, I'm really looking forward to this. Will Daley chop up the legs? Will Daley pressure him up against the fence? Or is it going to be a flying knee or a blitz or a side kick or a hook kick or a spinning whatever from MVP? Love to see these kind of matchups. Definitely intriguing. Matt Pumilio. Anthony Smith versus Jones. Interesting fight. Another very interesting fight. However, I just think that John Jones is better everywhere. I hate to say it. You know, I hate to say that, you know, somebody's being outclassed. But at the end of the day, John Jones is the better wrestler. John Jones is the better striker. John Jones is the better grappler. I like Anthony Smith. I think he's got a lot of heart. I think he's an entertaining guy. I think he's been around the block. He's got tremendous experience. But in the end, man, all that heart he's got, it's not going to make a difference. Because John Jones, let me tell you something about John Jones. Like him or hate him, okay? I don't care if you guys like him or hate him. I just got to call it how it is. John Jones also has incredible heart. At the end of the day, if he's in a dogfight, he rises to the occasion. He's not a quitter. There are some guys that are great fighters, but they are quitters. When the going gets tough, you know, Teddy Atlas, I was listening to his interview with Joe Rogan, and he was saying that he said something kind of crazy, but then it made a lot more sense. He said, look, Mike Tyson is 0-5. That's his record. Why? It might seem absurd, but I understand exactly what he meant. Some fighters are so talented. Okay, some fighters go in the gym. They're so talented. Guys, I've seen this, okay? They're so talented. They do half the training everybody else does. They're built for fighting. They're built for whatever sport they're in, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, grappling. Some guys come in, they grapple once a day, 3 times a week, or like very little grappling, and they get away with it. Why? Maybe they grappled for many years intensely. Now they just grapple every so often, and they're still cream of the creme de la creme. They're still in the top. Why? They got a lot of talent, and they don't want to work hard. They just live off their talent. I've seen this, and it's not very common. It's not very common, but it does exist. And Mike Tyson was one of those guys. Okay, Mike Tyson, when they discovered Mike Tyson, he was 16 years old, and he was hitting like I remember hearing stories. I trained with a boxing coach once that trained Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis, for those of you who don't know, Lennox Lewis used to box in Toronto here in Canada. He then later moved to England. He later moved to Europe. They brought him down. They brought Lennox Lewis down to spar with a kid in New York named Mike Tyson that was stopping all his sparring partners. Now, at that time, Lennox Lewis was a star here in Canada. He was like a huge prospect. From what I've heard, Mike Tyson stopped him in sparring. He stopped Lennox Lewis in sparring. For those of you who don't know, they fought years later after Mike Tyson was in his prime. After he went to jail, he came back to boxing. He was not in his prime. They kind of pushed him early into a fight with Lennox. Lennox was now in his prime. It was a perfect time for Lennox to fight Mike Tyson. Lennox Lewis ended up stopping Mike Tyson. However, in their prime, both of them in their prime, I think most boxing experts would tell you Mike Tyson won that fight. Even though Lennox Lewis is one of the greatest to ever do it. Lennox Lewis is no doubt one of the greatest boxers to ever do it. He's beat every single guy he's ever faced. If he lost to you, he won the rematch. Like, he's literally one of the greatest boxers of all time. However, Mike Tyson, I think in most opinions, most boxing experts' opinion, was greater than Lennox Lewis in boxing. He was more, at least raw in terms of raw talent, at the very least. This guy had 2 atomic bombs in his hand. I don't think it was a question of technique. I think technique was a huge part of it. He was very diligent. He was very disciplined. His technique was amazing. However, he had a punching power you can't learn. You cannot learn this kind of punching power. Anyways, Teddy Atlas says, look, this guy, every time he got into a dogfight, he lost. He didn't have that fighting heart. He wasn't a fighter. He was an athlete. He was a performer. And again, this is not my opinion. This was Teddy Atlas's opinion. I'm just giving you guys a little rundown here. He was basically, it's a great episode. You guys should watch it. The Rogan Show with Teddy Atlas. What a great interview. And Teddy was trying to say that Tyson, he would go in there and he would win because he had so much more talent than the guys he was fighting. He was so much higher than them in terms of skill and talent. However, every time he met a guy who put him into adversity, and now we're going to see if you're a fighter. We're going to see how much heart you have. Because when you're so much better than someone, like for those of you who do jiu-jitsu, or box, if you're a black belt and you're rolling with a blue belt, heart is, you don't need to show your heart. The guy's not at your level. You're just toying with him. However, if the guy's at your level and there's a back and forth, now we're going to see your heart. Because it's not just about fighting now. We're going to see your heart. And every time Tyson had a chance to show his heart, it seems like he failed. This was Teddy Atlas's point of view. Now, Islam Rewards, you're saying Teddy Atlas hates Mike Tyson. Yeah, I get it. They have a history together. They have a history. He may have a bad taste in his mouth. I'll let you guys decide. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's not me saying that. I'm definitely not saying Mike Tyson has no heart. However, I do agree with that phenomenon, is what I'm trying to tell you. Some fighters are so good, they're so technical, they're so talented, that when they fight, if their talent is not carrying them, they fold. If they get into a dogfight, if they get into a back and forth, if they get into some adversity, they quit. They only want easy fights. John Jones is not one of those guys. I'll tell you something. John Jones is definitely not one of those guys. We saw it in the Gustafsson fight, the first one. We saw it in the Machida fight. He got his chin checked a few times. I know him personally. Like, I've trained with the guy. The guy has a dog in him. He does have we saw it in the Cormier fight. At the first Cormier fight, it was a grinder. There was a point where they were grinding hard. Both of them, they were fighting hard for scraps. They were clawing their way in that fight. Not the entire fight, but there were a point. There were back and forths. They were very intense. And John Jones, man, he just grinded the axe all the way to the end. He was ready to die in there. Some fighters are ready to die in there. And Anthony Smith is one of those guys. Anthony Smith will fight to the death. But so will John Jones. So I don't see where Anthony Smith has an edge on John. I just don't see it. I just don't see where he has the edge. I just see John just having too much. Now, here's something that I would give Anthony Smith, a small edge. John just did a weight cut. He has to do another one quite shortly. The fight's coming around. So weight cuts back to back. Anthony had a chance to recover from his last weight cut. So maybe that's a small edge, but I don't think it's significant enough. John's been wrestling his entire career. He's done so many weight cuts. He's done so many weigh-ins. I mean, this is just going to be easy for him. I just see John Jones having way too much. Just way too much. Striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, just everything. Absolutely everything. John Jones was born from MMA. That's from Edward. Edward says John Jones was born for MMA. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. The man was born for doing MMA. What do you think of Islam Makayev's chances of being champ by 2020? That's from James Anthony. Look, that kid is a very, very good fighter. I've seen him live. I've seen him work. I mean, this kid is a really great fighter. He has a chance to do exactly what Khabib did, just go and dominate his division. He has many of the same attributes. Maybe he's even a better striker. We're going to have to wait and see on that one. We're going to have to wait and see. He's definitely a great wrestler, definitely great on the ground, great jiu-jitsu. I'm looking forward to see more of his exchanges standing up. That's what I'm really looking forward to see from him. And I would love for him to see. I would love to see him fight a Tony Ferguson. I think that could be a very, very interesting matchup. Tony Ferguson versus Islam. That'll be a very, very interesting fight. What else we got here? Why does everyone avoid Ferguson? That's from Ricardo Quezada. You know what? I'll tell you something. His nickname is perfect for him. He is the boogeyman. He is the boogeyman. I think a lot of people have nightmares about Tony Ferguson. A lot of people have nightmares. Why? Number one, his fights are always bloody. They're always bloody, man. They're violent. The guy's a very violent fighter. Nobody ever goes in there and has a clean fight. Why? He has a berserker style. Do you see the forward pressure he puts on to people? Like, for instance, when you saw him fight Barboza, watch that fight again. Barboza is landing shots. However, Ferguson is just slipping, sliding, walking forward, spinning on the ground, catching leg locks, doing illegal strikes. I mean, he kicked Barboza illegally. It didn't seem to faze him. He's just this walking tornado, this Tasmanian devil, this just pure destruction. And he gets hit. That's the thing about Ferguson. That's why I'm not so crazy about the McGregor fight for him, because McGregor is good at hitting. He's good at hitting, and Ferguson gets hit. Now, I do like some things for Ferguson against McGregor, because if he gets past that first wave, his chaotic nature, the way he fights chaotically, I think could be a problem for McGregor. However, he could get sniped on the way in. He can get hit hard on the way in, and he does get hit hard. If you saw his fight against Lando Venata, he got hit, he got dropped. However, when he fought Pettis, he got hit, he got dropped. It seems to be a recurring theme. Round one, he gets hit, he gets dazed. Against Kevin Lee, he got dropped. He got dominated in round one. He got mounted by Kevin Lee. He got hit hard by Kevin Lee in round one. However, he just has this ability, this durability. And he comes forward and he's non-stop attacks. Non-stop. Literally kicks, knees, elbows, non-stop. Like, just his punches, his strikes per minute must be the highest in the division. I haven't looked at the statistics. However, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Let me put this over here. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he has the most attempted strikes per minute in probably the entire UFC. Probably the entire UFC. I mean, that's why I think people don't want to fight him. He's just a dog, man. It's a dog fight all the time. So I really like his nickname. His nickname really fits him well. This is from Kasim. How do you think Zabit versus Stevenson will go? That's an interesting one. I like Zabit. I think he's got the reach. I think he's got the wrestling. He's going to keep Stevenson guessing. And he's just got I love the back kicks, the spin kicks. I like that kind of stuff. I do that myself. So I really like that kind of style. It's going to be interesting, but Stevenson's got the experience and he's got that punching power. So he's always dangerous. And he definitely has that pressure. He's going to try to close the cage off, and I think it's going to look a lot like when he fought Max Holloway, except with the exception, I think that Zabit's going to shoot more. He's going to shoot a lot more. Sina, I have no idea what that means, my friend. Sorry about that, but I have no idea what you're saying. Who wins, Kevin Lee or Khabib? Please pick one. That's from Nurlan. Well, I think after seeing the last performances against Iaquinta, I'd have to pick Khabib, just because it seemed like Kevin Lee started to slow down a little bit. I don't know if it was a weight cut or whatnot, or just the hits, but Iaquinta just seemed to speed up more and more, and Kevin Lee, I thought it was a close fight. Okay, it was a really close fight. It was close, but I just felt that Iaquinta just kept speeding up more and creating more of a difference. And if that fight had a 6th round, it would have been like just a blowout. I don't know. I just felt that Iaquinta did really, really well. And it was still a very close fight. A lot of people were thinking it was a blowout. It wasn't. And when you watch that fight, it was a very close fight. However, Al just, he took it to the next level at one point in the fight, and it was just too precise, just hitting hard, connecting better shots. And I think Khabib could do the same. I think Khabib, especially with his takedowns, if Khabib scores takedowns, and he'll really fatigue Kevin Lee. I think Kevin Lee, he does really well in round 1s and round 2, but then seems to slow down, where Khabib doesn't show any sign of slowing down. In all his fights, he's never shown any signs of slowing down at all. GSP versus Khabib, is it going to happen? That's from Khabib Time. Khabib Time. I really hope that fight does happen. I think it would be phenomenal. I'd love to see a 165 weight class. 165 weight class. I would love to see... Listen, I know it sounds crazy, okay? Call me crazy. But this is what I would like to see. I would like to see bantamweight, super bantamweight, lightweight, super lightweight. Like, maybe not all at once, but we need welterweight and super welterweight. We need light heavyweight and super light heavyweight. Add 10 pounds. So you have lightweight and then you have super lightweight, 165. And I think that more weight classes will make more interesting fights. You'll have more double champs. You'll have greater legacies being established. I like what boxing does. Some people feel like it's watering things down. I don't agree. I really don't agree, because then you can have guys you'd have Max Holloway fighting guys in the lightweight division. You'd have guys in the lightweight division fighting guys in the welterweight division. It'd just be such a much more interesting dynamic. You'd have a lot more mixing and matching. Whereas right now, if you look at the lightweight division, the matchups are it's kind of tough to make a matchup now. First of all, guys might get injured. That makes it even more complicated. But put that aside for now. Who does Khabib fight next? Well, he's not going to fight McGregor next, because the fight wasn't... I think a lot of people wouldn't want to see it right away. Okay, I think a lot of us would see it, will tune in, but I don't think the casual fan wants to see that again, especially if the result is the same. If the result is the same, the fan's going to be very unhappy. Hey, I paid $100, $80, whatever the price is, and I got the same fight again. They're going to be furious. They're going to start, they're going to be very negative towards the UFC. However, if you put like Tony Ferguson, okay, fans will, it's something we haven't seen before. But who else other than Tony Ferguson? Well, now we might have a Cowboy in there. You might have Cowboy fight Khabib. That's interesting, but is it interesting enough? I don't know. However, imagine you had Max Holloway jump in. I think that would be very intriguing, but they'd have to do it in a super featherweight. So imagine Khabib can make 152 or 150. That would be I don't know if he could. I'm not saying he could. However, that would be super interesting. So now you might have GSP fight Khabib, 165. I think that's very doable. Very, very doable. And that's something I think that would motivate George, definitely. But they need to do it. They need to make that weight class. I know it sounds crazy, but in my opinion, I really think boxing put those weight classes for a reason. And boxing has lasted so long. Boxing's been around forever. And I think they figured out the formula. They make very interesting fights. Really interesting fights. And that's what we need. Interesting fights sell. We're just having a little bit of a lull now with interesting fights. We have less superstars than we had a few years ago. We have less megastars, I should say. Less megastars. And how do you build megastars? Well, the guy's got 2 weight divisions under his belt. He's won 2 or 3 weight divisions. People want to be like, hey, why does this guy have so many belts? Let me tune in. Let me see what's going on with this guy's career. Will this guy change weight class? He beat a guy from another weight class. He's defending 2 titles at once, 3 titles. It just makes for more interesting TV. It makes for more interesting matchups. Conor dominated Holloway with a torn ACL. That is true, but that was a long time ago. Tim Long, that's from Tim Long saying that Conor dominated Holloway. That's true, but let's see him do it again. You know, it'd be an interesting fight. Very interesting fight. Holloway has come a long way since then. I forget how many fights he's won in a row since then. Let me look it up. Okay, let's see. Max Holloway has grown. Don't forget, he started in UFC very young. Hold on, I'm just looking up his Sherdog record. Let me see what's up here. Let's see. He started very young in UFC. He grew up in UFC, basically. He got a Conor McGregor very early on. Okay, so look, he fought Conor McGregor in 2013. He's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights in a row since then. Think about that. He's fought 13 fights in a row. He's won 13 fights in a row. Just before losing to Conor McGregor, he lost to Dennis Bermudez. Okay, he lost to Dennis Bermudez. Then he lost to Conor McGregor. Okay, could you see him now losing to Dennis Bermudez? I think Dennis Bermudez is a great fighter. You know, he's just recently retired. Congratulations to him on a brilliant career. Okay, but I don't think that we could say they're the same level right now. You know, like there was a time where Dennis Bermudez was a greater fighter than Max Holloway. No doubt about it. He had his day. He had his time. He was in his prime. He beat a young Max Holloway. There's no doubt about it. He won. He won that fight, hands down. Okay, he won that fight. However, today, if he was fighting Max Holloway, I think we can all agree that we probably all pick Max Holloway. No disrespect to Dennis Bermudez, you know, great fighter. However, it's just not his time anymore. Now, is this the same case with McGregor? Let's see. We'd have to see them fight again. It's just a tough fight to call. Very tough fight to call. But Max Holloway is not the same Max Holloway that fought McGregor years ago. He's definitely not. You know, I always found it interesting, like, especially in hockey. You know, I don't watch a lot of hockey, but if you look at hockey, it's the best out of 7. When they have two teams play each other, it's the best out of 7. You can have a team. Let's say you have 2 teams play. Team A wins 4-0. They literally win 4-0. The next night, they're playing themselves. They're playing the same 2 teams are playing again. Okay. Now the other team wins 3-0. What the hell happened? Like, did the team get so much better in 48 hours, 24 hours? No, they didn't get much better. They just changed a few things they were doing. They figured out the problem. The puck bounced a different way tonight. That's what happened. People are like, oh, they're so much better. No, they're not so much better. There's the same group of guys playing. You can have somebody win a series three games in a row. So it's the best out of 7. You win 4, you're done. The other team is done. They'll win 3 games in a row, and then the other team will come back and win 4 in a row. What happened? The same 2 teams, the same rosters, the same bunch of guys playing each other. They just came up with a different game plan, different strategy. Some guy had an epiphany. Some guy realized what they're doing and why they're scoring. How come they're getting past? They just changed up the tactics. The tactics can make a huge difference. So you lose one fight, you have a rematch. The fight can go totally different. Like if we look at John Jones versus Gustafsson, the rematch was totally different. The first fight was neck and neck. The second fight was all John Jones, mostly all John Jones. What else we got here? All right, so many questions coming in here. Let me just try to sort through these. Let's see here. Do you see Robbie Lawler making one last title run? Well, listen, that's from Brian Garber. If he can beat, that's tough to say, you know, but if he can beat Ben Askren, which is an interesting fight, guys. Let's talk about that fight. That's a great fight. If he can beat Ben Askren, I believe he can be a world champion again, because that is a tough fight. Let me tell you something. This is not going to be an easy fight. Ben Askren, listen, if I have to pick one of these 2, I'm picking Ben Askren. Now, I'm not trying to underestimate Robbie Lawler. I think he's a great chance to win. Robbie Lawler's got incredible heart. He's incredibly durable. He's got power. He's tenacious. He can punch. He can kick. He can knee. He's got the experience. I just feel like his ground game is not strong enough to withstand an assault from Ben Askren. And I do believe Ben Askren's going to do the smart thing and get the takedown. Like, I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. The man's literally taken down every single guy he's ever fought. If a takedown does happen, I just feel that Askren's ground game is just too far ahead. Again, I could be proven wrong, especially in the later rounds when things get sweaty. I'm not sure, is it a 5-round fight? I believe it's probably a 3-round fight. If it's a 3-round fight, I like Askren's chances even more because he doesn't have to keep Robbie down for as long. And I think his grappling is going to take over. I do believe Ben Askren's a black belt on the ground as well. I'm not sure if he's ever officially gotten a black belt on the ground, but he's definitely at that level. So I don't think he's going to have difficulty controlling or holding or even like passing the guard or pinning Robbie. However, standing up is going to be a very dangerous scenario. The knees, the kicks, the flying uppercuts, like the jumping in uppercuts, it's going to be very dangerous. So Askren's got to be very careful. He has to not underestimate Robbie at all. Underestimating Robbie Lawler will end up, with Askren getting KO'd. I think Askren's too smart to do this, make this mistake. Edward Klein says Askren's 99% wrestling. Yeah, I agree. He's 99% wrestling, and jiu-jitsu, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, grappling, absolutely. And it's a smart style. It's a style that works for him. However, can Robbie sprawl out Ben Askren repeatedly and knock him out? It's possible. I would just give it I would say it's 60-40 in Ben Askren's favor. 60-40 in Ben Askren's favor. I would never count out Robbie, never count him out. However, I just feel the takedown's going to happen. What else we got here? Do you think McGregor is a good move for Cowboy next? That's from Nick Aguamo. Or should he pick another top 5 guy? I think it's a great move for Cowboy. I think it'll be a huge payday for both of them. The fans want to see it. At the end of the day, you have to go with the fans want to see. And I think it's a very winnable fight for both of them. I really like this fight for Cowboy. I think the knees and the kicks that he throws are very, they're going to be problems for McGregor. And McGregor's, obviously, his boxing is going to be a problem for Cerrone. Like, if you guys remember when Cerrone fought Eddie Alvarez was tagging him with the hands. He was tagging Cowboy with the hands. And the Cowboy was landing those knees and those kicks, and he was just working the body. I think it's going to be very similar. I think McGregor will have a very strong advantage with the hands, but the Muay Thai kicks, knees, and elbows of Cowboy will create a big advantage for him on the feet. Toyotaro, you just spent $10 on a question. I have no idea who Jake is, or your friend Jake. Sorry, I have no idea who that is. I like Cowboy over McGregor. That's from Ricardo. I like him in the later rounds, especially if that's a 5-round fight. I like Cowboy in the later rounds. I think if they do a fight, obviously it's got to be a 5-rounder. It's got to be a main event. It could be pay-per-view. With those two big names, it could be pay-per-view, no doubt. And I don't know if they're doing pay-per-view anymore. I heard different setups. I'm not an expert in that, but that's a big selling fight. That's going to be a huge fight. So, yes, I agree with you. It'd have to be a main event, 5 rounds, and super interesting. NSP, Wonderboy versus Pettis. Listen, I heard about that fight. I heard it's official. Let me Google that because it can't be official. This must be a mistake. I'm going to double check, okay? Because somebody told me that fight is official. Wonderboy versus Pettis. It's official. Holy moly. Fight night 148, welterweight. March 23rd, gentlemen. Mark your calendars. Listen, let me tell you, I don't like that fight. I'm going to watch it as a fan. I'm going to be glued to the screen. I'm going to watch. I'm going to tune in. I'm going to pay. If I have to pay to watch the fight, I'm going to pay. It's well worth the money. It's going to be entertaining. However, here's what I don't like about that fight, okay? It's a crazy matchup. It's a crazy matchup. Not for Wonderboy. for Pettis. Okay, this is a dangerous fight for Pettis. This is such a dangerous fight. Like I don't see where the reason is. If Pettis was training in my camp, I would forbid him from doing this fight. Wonderboy is just too much. He's just too much. And if anybody who doesn't agree with me, you're gonna see on March 23rd. You're gonna see that he's just too much. Like if I'm proven wrong, guys, I'll come on this podcast and I'll praise Pettis and I'll say, look, I eat my words. I'm totally wrong. But I'm telling you guys, I have incredible confidence in Wonderboy. He's going to win this fight. He's going to win this fight in style. And it's going to be a tough night for Pettis. Pettis is not a welterweight. He's not a welterweight. I think going up in weight class at this level, Pettis is a great fighter. I've talked about him many times on this channel. He's one of my favorite strikers to watch. Okay, I'm not trying to be negative towards the man. What I'm saying is this fight is out of it. Literally, he's outsized and outskilled. This is a bad combination. This is a very bad combination. Wonderboy is way bigger, way more athletic, way stronger. And his skill level is so high that I don't see how Pettis is going to score. I don't see what Pettis is going to do. The kicks that Pettis throws, Wonderboy's seen his entire life. He's seen that. He's not going to be taken by surprise by the kicks. Wonderboy is going to be too sharp, too powerful, too big, too strong, too quick, too long, too much distance, too much everything. If Pettis tries to shoot on Wonderboy, I don't see how that's going to work either. Wonderboy is very competent in wrestling and on the ground. It's just too much. I just find it's a great fight for Wonderboy. However, Pettis belongs in the lightweight division. The lightweight division, his fight against Ferguson, he showed he had promise. He was winning the fight at one point. He can be successful there. He can be successful at lightweight. I don't think he's a very big lightweight. So some lightweights I think are big enough, like Cowboy, to go into the welterweight division. And we saw Cowboy have a lot of success in welterweight division. He beat Yancy Medeiros. He had some very good success. Even though he lost to Robbie Lawler, the former welterweight champ, he had a lot of success in that fight. He won a round, okay? And the last round was very, very close. The last round between them was very, very close. He beat, I'm forgetting, what other fights did he win? He had some very big wins. He beat the other Cowboy in the welterweight division. He beat Matt Brown, the Immortal. He beat Rick Story. I mean, he's had some big wins. He's had some very big wins in the welterweight division. He's beat some serious names. That's a lightweight that's tall enough, big enough to go from lightweight to welterweight. I totally agree. However, Pettis beat Cowboy. I see the MMA math. A lot of you are going to bring that up. You're going to be like, well, Pettis crushed Cowboy. So if Cowboy can do it, so can Pettis. I don't agree. I don't think he has the same reach. And because don't forget, when Cowboy went up a weight class, he also put on a lot of girth. He put on a lot of size. He had the frame. He has the frame for it. He has that reach. Pettis doesn't have the reach. He doesn't, in my opinion, guys, he doesn't have the reach. I really feel like this is a bad matchup. Like this could be a career-ending matchup. And I don't say that often. You guys have listened to me talk for a lot, many years now. Like this has been about 3 years I've been doing this podcast. This could be, I hate to say it, man, this could be a very hard night for Pettis. And I have the utmost respect for the man's skills. The guy's a brilliant fighter. He's a genius. Like his striking is pure genius. But Wonderboy is just equally skilled, if not more. And just way too big. Just his frame, his size, his power is just too much, in my opinion. All right, what else we got here? Who wins? Cowboy versus Wonderboy or Cowboy? Well, that's from Euros. Well, we saw Darren Till fight Cowboy. I just think those guys are too big. I think Darren Till and like that's a great example. That's such a great example. Pound for pound is very hard to say, but just the size difference. Darren Till is just too much size, too much skill. I think that a little guy can beat a bigger guy. Yes, it does happen. If the skill level is not the same. However, when the skill level is the same, and we're talking about elite level, 10 pounds is a huge difference. The frame, the reach, these things are not easily overcome. And we saw it in the Till fight. Now, it could have been just a bad night, I agree. But Till could never make 155, in my opinion. It would be too hard, too difficult, too draining. But Cowboy can. What does that tell me? I think it tells me that Cowboy's frame is not naturally as big, even though he could bulk up. It's just not the same natural size. So I think, like Wonderboy, Cerrone could be between the two, because he's a very big lightweight and a small welterweight, whereas Pettis is a medium-sized lightweight. He's not a huge lightweight. And the fact that he can make 145, he's fought at 145, proves that. There's no welterweight out there that'll ever make 145. No true welterweight. So, in my opinion, this is just a too big of a physical difference. The physical difference is just too large. How did you feel about GSP training at Jackson's? That's from JL. Well, JL, I used to train with him there as well. So we loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot from Greg Jackson, especially early on as a coach. I had a lot to learn. Still have a lot to learn, of course, as always. But I really enjoyed training with Greg Jackson. Greg Jackson was always very good with me and taught me a lot. And till this day, when I see him, we hang out. Like, if we see each other in the room, we're hanging out, we're laughing. We're just together recently in the LA show. We're just having a blast, talking, hanging out for a few hours, and he's a great mentor of mine. Cowboy fought at 145. If he did, it must have been when he was really young. Okay, I'd have to verify that. I'm not sure that he ever did fight at 145, but he would never make 145 today. Okay, so maybe when you're very young, you're up and coming, and you fight. I think he might have fought. I think you're right. He might have fought Chris Horodecki, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a long, long time ago. We're talking about years ago. Okay, the body fills out. You might not be getting taller in life, but you get thicker. Okay, so after maybe 21, they say the human being stops growing completely. And for a lot of people, it's way earlier than that, like maybe 20 or 19. Some people might stop growing. However, you don't stop growing in width. Okay, you get that man strength, you get that size. And I think Cowboy would never, in this day and age, ever make it to 145. All right, let's see what else we got here. Why are omoplatas so rare in UFC? That's from M. Valanti. Omoplata is a very popular maneuver you see in jiu-jitsu. You don't see it very often in UFC and MMA, actually. You know what? It's kind of weird because I think a lot of fighters get up from when they're fighting MMA, they want to get up. So if you get far, I do a lot of, it's funny you say that because I do a lot of omoplatas when I spar MMA. I do quite a bit. And I always ask myself, why don't they go to omoplata? I think omoplata is a bit of a tricky position. It's a tricky move. It's very technical. And I think we did, one omoplata. It's funny that we're talking about Cowboy. Cowboy hit a beautiful omoplata on Miles Jury early on. Miles Jury scored a beautiful double leg in there very early in round one. Very, very early in round one. And then Cowboy countered it with a beautiful omoplata. And that's exactly what I like to do when I get double-legged in practice. I go straight to omoplata and try to get up to my feet. I just think that MMA is heavily geared towards wrestlers, and wrestlers just kind of hip heist their way up. They don't really use omoplata, and for the jiu-jitsu guys, they're probably they're probably just kind of like you playing more butterfly guard. It's just you do see it, just very rarely. It's one of very many possibilities. So there's so many possibilities off your back, but you're right. You definitely do see it more in BJJ. It's far less common in MMA than it is in BJJ. That's a great question. I just feel like it's probably a nuanced maneuver that a lot of people don't know very well. Who is the easiest fight for Conor? I'd say Ali Quinta. Well, that's from Tim Lom. Tim Lom, I would never say that Ali Quinta is a hard fight. An easy fight. That's a very hard fight. Ali Quinta is a very hard fight for anybody. He just beat Kevin Jackson, for goodness sake. Okay, he just beat Kevin Jackson. Not Kevin Jackson, I'm sorry, Kevin Lee. Kevin Jackson, guys, for those of you who don't know, is another superstar in MMA. Back in the day, he fought Frank Shamrock. He won a UFC tournament. He won the gold medal. That's when UFC had gold medals. Okay, I don't know if you guys know that from back in the day. If you won a UFC tournament, you'd get a gold medal. You get a UFC medal. There's only a few guys who ever got one, and Kevin Jackson was one of the greatest double leg guys in the game. Okay, he was an Olympic gold medalist and a brilliant freestyle wrestler, Olympic wrestler. And I just confused his name with Kevin Lee. But for those of you who don't know, I'm from the old school MMA generation. Okay, he was one of the top fighters. He fought Ken Shamrock and got armbarred in round 1 against Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock armbarred him in round 1. A brilliant fight, one of the most epic fights back in the day. Superb wrestler versus this new cutting edge MMA guy, a guy who does hybrid training. Hybrid training, like mixed training, wasn't really done back then. Frank Shamrock was a kickboxer mixed with wrestling, mixed with jiu-jitsu, and you had this like super wrestler on the other side. And now you don't really see that as much anymore. You still see it in like Khabib, but those guys are more rare. Back then, everybody had a particular style. They're either a kickboxer or a grappler or a wrestler. Now today, so much of the MMA roster is mixed. You know, everybody does a hybrid style, save a few guys. But back in the day, everybody was a specialist in one domain. So, yeah, back to Ale Quinta. Ale Quinta is going to be a tough fight for McGregor. All these fights are tough. All these fights, it's a tough fight for Ale Quinta. Very tough fight. I don't know, man. That's a very tough fight. I think Ale Quinta will be a very, very dangerous fight for McGregor. Very doable fight, but a very tough one. There's no easy fight. So you're asking me which is the easiest fight for McGregor. There's not an easy fight. There's not an easy fight for Khabib. There's not an easy fight for Ale Quinta. There's not an easy fight for Ferguson. I think they're all tough fight. If we're talking about the top 5 guys, there's no easy fight. There's just good matchups. I think good matchups. And I heard that Ale Quinta wants to fight McGregor, but from what I understand, it's going to be McGregor Cowboy. That's what I heard is the latest. So that's interesting. That's a very interesting bout. I definitely want to watch that fight. I noticed that GSP has been fasting for 5 days. Do you know if it's dry fasting or liquid fasting? What is the benefits of fasting continuously for multiple days like that? Thanks. That's from Sarah H. Sarah, thank you for the super chat. Listen, that's a great topic. Let's bang it out right now. Yes, that's right. GSP hasn't eaten in 5 days. Okay, so he comes to my practices. You know, he's still training with me at Tristar. And he's done 5 days of water fasting. So water and Himalayan salt. Guys, I've never done 5-day fast. Like right now, currently I'm fasting. I'm doing what I call active fast. I'll talk to you guys about that another day. But GSP literally, he does these kind of fasts about like, now he's aiming for 2 to 3 times a year. So that's 15 days. So 5 days at a time, just salt water. Just water and a pinch of salt. Just a little bit of Himalayan salt. Let me tell you something. He's done his blood work. He's done his he's checked his hormones and his blood work, and supposedly it's really good. Like I haven't looked at it myself, but for those of you who don't know, there's a huge spike in your testosterone. Your testosterone goes up. You go into autophagy. We've talked about this in the past. Look it up. It's a very phenomenal topic. However, he can't train as intensely. So he has been training the first 2-3 days. He kind of keeps a normal schedule. Believe it or not, the first 2 days, he's actually rolling live and wrestling, and then he's doing his water workouts at night. He's going like normal, which I find crazy because I do fasting myself, but I do 1 meal a day. And I also started my own type of tweak on fasting. I'll tell you guys about that another day. I call it active fasting. I think it works really, really well. I've really leaned up. I've really, really leaned up. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I've definitely gotten lighter. I checked myself on the scale last time. I was 168. I kind of freaked out a little bit because normally I like to be never lower than 170. Like if I get lower than 170, I start lifting a lot of weights because I can easily get down to 165, 160 if I eat right and keep training the way I do. I'll just lose too much weight. And for me, I don't like to be that small. I just find that I like to be bigger. So once I reach that kind of weight, I start lifting a lot of weights after practice. I start trying to bulk up more. Because of course, jiu-jitsu and kickboxing is a lot of endurance work. So you kind of get a little scrawny, a little skinny. So I kind of, for me, that when I start hitting below 170, it's a red alert. Like I got to start eating a little more. But the thing is, fasting is so quick to lose weight. That's why if George ever fought 165, I feel like we can make 165 quite comfortably, because now George has discovered this new way of losing weight. Okay, and like I was saying, so the first 2 days he's kind of training normal. The third day he's got to start coming in just doing technique. By day 5, okay, so day 3, 4, and 5. By day 5, like it's time for the meal. Like he's done. Like he came in on day 5 to a jiu-jitsu class I was teaching, and we drilled for about an hour, and that's it. No rolling. So there is a cost. You do have to ease back on training. Now is the time for him to do that. And of course, he's doing this because of his health. I don't recommend doing 5 days of fasting for anybody, unless you're doing it for like spiritual reasons, or you have like a lot of fat to lose. You're not in shape. I think 1 or 2 days is plenty. George was telling me it takes about 36 hours to hit autophagy. I'm not sure about that. I've looked it up myself. I think if you're training and you're fasting, it's going to come a lot sooner. At least that's what I feel, because when I'm training and I'm fasting, I start feeling if I don't train and I fast for 2 days, I feel the same way as if I fast and train in 1 day. Like I feel my body like just ate up all the reserves, and I feel like I'm right there. I'm at that point where my body is like it's eating itself up, like it's just digesting itself. Like I have that feeling, and again, it's just from years and years. I've been fasting my whole life for Ramadan. Now, training and fasting is something kind of different, because when you train and you fast, your body just goes through its reserves. I think most people, when they fast, they don't train. Okay, I have a lot of experience training and fasting. If you train a little bit when you're fasting, your body just it eats up whatever you ate the day before, whatever you had in your system. It's gone, man. I'm telling you, it's just gone. It's just you put your system into warp drive. That's how I could describe it. Now here's something else that's really fascinating about fasting. If you do it right, if you fast for long enough, you start having incredible. I know you guys are gonna find this weird, but you start having incredible mental clarity. You start having profound thoughts. Like you start thinking. I don't know if it's for survival. Like your brain has a system to make you super smart, so you could figure out like how to get resources out in nature. But if you fast for a prolonged period of time, you will start having deep, like your IQ jumps. Your IQ, you just start thinking, figuring out things, and you start having thoughts you never have before. And there's a famous quote by Plato that says he fasts for mental clarity. Now, of course, many great thinkers, sages, fasted throughout their life, and it does. For those of you who don't know, if you fast long enough, you start having it has incredible effect on your cognitive ability. Incredible, like nothing I've ever experienced before. And this only comes from prolonged fasting. Now, I do liquid fasts and I do dry fasts. So during the Ramadan, I do a dry fast. Dry fast for me, I found it very difficult to train intensely. I can only do very little training. However, liquid fast, if you give me water and a pinch of salt, I can do lots of training. I can do a lot of training. However, I can't train twice a day. I can't do like a professional would train. I can train to a certain amount. So that's why I like what I call active fasting. So me, I'll fast, but when I go to practice, I'll have a little bit of grains, like specifically grains, not just fruit. I'll have a oatmeal or a granola bar or whatnot, but only right before training, because I feel that energy is going to be used for my practice. I can actually train a lot more intensely. So that's what I call active fasting. And then I won't eat. I'll eat right before and right after practice, but then I won't eat after that. So I just finished practice. I haven't eaten anything. Before I go to practice tonight, that's maybe the second practice, I'm going to eat something. Then I come back home from practice. I'll eat a little something just to go to bed. And that's it. I won't eat till tomorrow. But when I tell you eat something, I'm telling you I'm eating less than like 300 calories before I go to practice. When I come back from practice, probably another 300 calories. So I'll have less than 1,000 calories in a day. And I feel that I can train far more intensely, and I still have all the benefits of fasting. I still feel like if I was, however, if I ate and didn't train, I feel like it breaks the fast. However, if you eat and you go and you train very intensely, I feel like you're right back on that fast. It feels the same thing. I feel like, again, I don't have any studies to back this up. I'm just going by my own intuition, but I feel like I'm having all the same mental clarity. I'm having the same feeling of being on a fast. Like if I fast for 24 hours, or I have a small amount of grains and then go train for 2-3 hours, I feel like I'm on the same. I feel like I'm even been fasting 48 hours now. I feel like it's even more of an intense fast, because the training boosts your system. It boosts your cognitive abilities. It your adrenal glands kick in, and I feel like whatever I ate just gave me the energy to create this fire, just to push my metabolism, turn my metabolism on. So I've been really liking doing it this way. And on the scale, like I said, guys, my weight dropped too fast, like literally way too fast. And I started lifting weights. Like now every night after practice, I lift weights because I really don't want to lose any more weight, but I also don't want to stop fasting. I want to keep training hard. I want to keep active and I want to fast. So I want both ends. So for me, the way to solve it is to keep the muscle mass. So I'm doing a lot of lifting after practice now. Food clouds your mind. That's from Ricardo Quezada. I think that's true. But the right amount of food can help you also boost your, sometimes you're feeling it down, you have a little snack, you feel great. I do agree with George. George is always telling me now that we're overfed. We are overfed. Like after now that he's experimented with fasting, he says that people are like, especially in the West, we can't disagree. I mean, there's nobody out there who's going to convince me that we eat just the right amount. We eat way too much. I mean, our societies as a whole eats way, way too much. Like in the West, we just eat way too much. People are obese, man. People are fat. We don't realize it because we're surrounded by overweight people all the time. And I'm not trying to say this to be negative. I'm just trying to say that, look, our health is taking a beating. Why? Because there's a McDonald's around every corner and it's cheap and it's tasty. But the truth is we're all addicted to food because we don't need this amount of food. It makes us highly unhealthy. Malik, I agree with you. Everybody overeats. And I, for one, I'm really happy to be able to shed that curse, man, because overeating is a curse. You don't know it, man, but it's an addiction. Coffee after training. I have coffee before training. I like my coffee before training. I also have one sometimes after training, but always before training. So I train twice a day. I'll have 2 coffees. If I train once a day, I might have just one. But before every practice, I like to have a coffee. It's actually something I really enjoy. Excess salt and sugar in everything. I agree with you. That is very true. Excess sugar, fat, calories. We have too much excess of that. And you know what? It really kills your energy when you have too much fat, sugar, salt. It just kills your energy, man. It's just people don't know that you're supposed to feel good. The human body was designed to feel good all the time. The human body was designed to be high all the time, like high of energy. Like when you have high energy, you feel great. Like personally, today I ate a little bit of granola and I went and I trained. And I haven't eaten anything. I'm going to eat something again in about 3 hours. A little bit of grains. And I'm going to go train for 2-3 hours. Then I'm going to lift weights. And I'm going to feel amazing. I'm going to feel incredible, man. I'm going to feel incredible. What I used to do is I used to eat once and then go train twice a day. And I would eat one meal every 24 hours. The second practice, I was eating more than I'm eating now. So what I was doing is I was having 1 meal a day. They call it the OMAD diet. 1 meal a day. And then I would go train. However, it's a lot more calories than I'm eating now. And I was feeling worse. I felt the second practice. So I would have one practice in the morning, then a meal in the afternoon, then a practice at night. I felt that meal in the afternoon made me sluggish. It made me sleepy. So then I have one practice in the morning, one practice at night, and then a meal at night. But the problem with that is my second practice I was sluggish. Why? Because I haven't eaten. I practice once, rest for a few hours, then go to practice again without having any food in my system. I just felt horrible. I felt sluggish. So now what I've been doing is I've been eating just a little bit. So I was probably eating like 2,000 to 3,000 calories with the OMAD diet, with a 1 meal a day diet. Now I'm eating probably like 600 to 900 calories a day, and I feel even better. I'm eating less. I'm just timing my food to coincide right away, right before my trainings. They go together, right? So I'm about to train. Here's a little carbohydrates, a little bit of grains, lots of water, a little bit of coffee. Let's go to practice. How do you feel? I feel really good. At night, I'll have a little something, just so when I sleep, my stomach's not too empty. I don't feel any pain, but I feel great. I feel really good. And I eat very little calories. Why? Because I'm convinced after all this fasting and all that, we don't need so much calories. People tell me, it's going to slow down your metabolism. I refer you to the work of Jason Fung. I've talked about this in the past, but I'll keep it really short. Check out Jason Fung's work. Everything you need to know about fasting. It's a myth. We don't have any evidence that if you don't eat for a prolonged period of time, that your metabolism slows down. We don't have any evidence at all. That's just... it's just hearsay. From what I understand, again, you'd have to refer to Jason Fung. That's what he says. I'm relying on him. He's the doctor. He's the expert on fasting. He's the guy who takes all sorts of data on fasting, and I've experienced it myself. I feel really good in fasting. Now listen, if I was fighting, if I was preparing for a camp, I wouldn't do it this way. I would have like little short meals throughout the day. I have I would just keep a stream of nutrients. I think that's great for fighters. It's great for recovery. It's great for being lean. However, I just feel there are a lot of benefits to fasting. One, you shed a lot of fat. Two, I feel great. I feel mentally clear. However, I won't train as hard as I would if I was doing meals throughout the day. So, like 6 small meals a day. I feel I can train really hard on that kind of diet. And I'll still do that every so often. Like sometimes I feel like that's what I need to do. And then I like to cycle between both diets. I like to do fasting on the weekends. So during the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I only have one meal in my day. During the week, I do 2 very small meals right before practice, because during the week we're training hard. We're wrestling, we're doing rounds and rounds, and we're holding I'm holding pads, we're coaching guys all day long. Like it's a lot of practicing. I feel like I need some energy right before practice. But I feel like I can eat just a small amount. It's funny because when I was training in Thailand, you guys are gonna laugh. Some of those guys in Thailand, they would just eat. They would train twice a day, eat twice a day only. Man, and they would eat such little food. Like I'm telling you, they would eat like a handful of rice with a little bit of something on it, like barely anything. Why? Because they were cutting weight. And they would train like animals. The Thais would train like animals, like 2-3 hour practice in the morning, 2-3 hour practice at night. That's including the running, hitting pads, clinch work. They would train for hours, and they would just have a little handful of rice before. It was incredible, really incredible how little they eat in Thailand. Faraz, do you take nootropics? That's from Sahil. Sahil, I don't know what nootropics is. Let me look it up. Alpha Brain nootropics. So if you're talking about Alpha Brain, like what Rogan has on his site, yes, he sent me a few bottles. I've taken it, love it. I think it's great. I take it every so often. So yes, I do take nootropics. I just didn't know that was the name. I do take the Alpha Brain product that Rogan gave me. Really enjoy it very much. I take it every so often. Again, I take supplements every so often. I'm not a big believer in doing supplements all the time. I like to cycle them. I do think they're important. Some people say they're not important at all. They're a waste of money. I disagree. Personally, I've had times where I feel a little bit sluggish. I go through my supplement cabinet. I take a bunch of stuff. I don't even know what I was missing, but I just feel better automatically. Is it psychosomatic? I don't know. But if it is or it isn't, it doesn't matter. It works for me. It's a small price to pay for, because I buy a bunch of stuff, but I don't go through it in a week. It's there. I have a stock. I feel good taking it. So for me, that's what counts. Any tips for footwork for beginners? Matthew Tessier, I watched some no-gi comps. I noticed in high-level comp, passing guards look almost impossible, as passers missing something fundamental that prevents them from passing the guard. Matthew, it's tough because there's no grips, but you do see guard passing. I think guard passing is it's quite common in no-gi. I don't think it's uncommon. Matthew, if you watch Abu Dhabi or sub only, guard passing happens all the time. It happens all the time, gi and no gi. I think it's equally hard to pass, to be honest, because you might not have any grips when you're no gi, but when you're in gi, the guy on the bottom's got grips, and those grips can be very hard. Like if somebody puts you in a galaxy guard or worm guard, good luck passing worm guard. Good luck passing all these lapel guards. They're very hard to pass. They're almost impossible to pass. So personally, if I had to pass the guard, I prefer the guy have no gi on. Personally. Edward Klein, Rogan is a shill. That stuff is a waste of money. Edward, are you an expert in this topic? I don't agree with you. I really don't agree with you. 100% don't agree. Edward, I'll tell you something. You probably don't train very intensely. People always argue, if you eat a good diet. Yeah, if you eat a good diet. We're people on the go. We travel. And you don't know what we're missing. The human body is a very tricky thing. Nobody understands the human body. There's nobody out there that fully understands the human body. That's the end all be all argument. Okay, mankind is doing its best to understand the human body, and the most brilliant minds on the face of the earth are doing their best. I get it, but that puzzle has still not been resolved. Okay, it's a complicated thing. Why? Because you have one expert contradicting another. Why? Because the topic is far more deep than we can understand. Over time, people may change their position on whether supplements are good or not. Now, in my personal opinion, supplements are good. Train really hard, train for a very long time, try it. If it doesn't work for you, that's what it is for you. However, for me personally, I'll tell you something. I always take supplements I always have supplements on hand because I take them on a periodic basis, and I feel it'll make a big difference for me. When you fast, do you drink coffee? Do you get gassy on this? Do you get gassy? No, I don't get gassy when I drink coffee. For me personally, I don't get gassy at all. I suggest you try a different brand of coffee, or maybe just do a Google search. Maybe you're just intolerant to coffee. All right, guys, I'm going to do 2 more and we're going to wrap it up because we have been going overtime. I hope to release a narrated video very shortly, a very interesting one where I grapple against a wrestler. A lot of you have been asking me to narrate that video, so I'm going to be narrating it hopefully this week, and hopefully it comes out next week. Let me see here. Okay, 2 more questions and we're going to wrap this up. Urban Chris, Coach, why grains and not fat? Have you experimented with fats? Well, listen, Urban. Yes, I have experimented with just fats. I feel like my cardio gets killed. I did some research on it, and they tell me that for your body to metabolize fat, it has to go through more steps than just glycogen, grains. Glycogen is directly stored into your muscle. So it's a faster, more available, more efficiently transformed fuel, because it's directly in your muscle, whereas fat has to go through a few more steps than the glycogen that's directly in your muscles. Now, glycogen is, you get it from grains, you get it from carbohydrates, whereas fats, they don't burn as efficiently and they're harder to metabolize. Again, I'm not a biologist, not my field, but this is what I've understood from the experts that I've gotten a chance to speak with, talk to. Grains are very important for explosive athletes that work in MMA. If you're an endurance athlete, if you're a marathon runner, you can do it off fats. However, for somebody who needs it to be explosive quick, like a sprinter, 100-meter sprinter or whatnot, you need those grains. It makes a whole difference. Now listen, I've experimented myself. I've tried all fats. I've tried it. My cardio drops, my power drops. Like I feel good on fats, but now when I do an intense exercise, like I can lift weights on fats, I can do technique on fats, but once we start wrestling or sparring really hard, my cardio takes a beating. It takes a real beating. Like my heart starts to beat out of its chest. For me, it doesn't work. And people told me, oh, you got to wait till you're fat adapted. I don't believe in that. Personally, I've never seen an athlete that just purely works off fats in MMA. I've never seen it. Maybe tomorrow somebody will prove me wrong. Maybe you got to wait a whole year. You got to eat fats for a whole year until your body gets adapted. Some people tell me it's 6 months. Look, I've never seen anybody do it. So until somebody does it, I'm happy on grains. I feel grains satisfy me. When I eat grains, I feel like I'm satisfied. I'm not hungry, and my performance in the gym is great. I feel I have the energy. Plus, my fat is very low. So why wouldn't I eat grains? What's the downside of eating grains? Somebody will have to send me a link if there is a downside to eating grains. I'm not aware of it. Hey, Coach, I love your podcast. Would you ever? And it skipped on me, so I missed your message. My apologies, my friend. I'm going to try to scroll up. All right, my man. Sorry. As I was reading your message, it skipped forward on me because somebody wrote a bunch of messages and it skipped forward. Okay, guys. Very sorry about that. Henry Young, wondering what are your requirements to be able to train with the pros at Tristar? Listen, just come in. We have all levels. If you're good enough to train with the pros, hang with them. I'll let you train with the pros. That's the bottom line. If you have the skills, doesn't matter what style you is. If you're a karate guy, if you're a kickboxer guy, if you're a wrestler guy, come on in. If you have the skills, you can hang. We have beginner sparring, intermediate sparring. We have the intermediate and beginners touch sparring only. Then the pros, they put on the headgear and they spar harder, more intensely. It's always controlled, but the guys who know each other well, they can go even more intensely. Safety is always number one, but you got to build yourself to that level. And when you do, we let anybody, even if you're not a pro fighter, even if you didn't even have a single amateur fight, if you have the skill level, we welcome you. Okay, so I'm going to do one more question, guys, and that'll be it. All right, one more question. Favorite breakfast. That's from Death of a Legacy. I love the Dolce breakfast bowl. If you guys don't know what the Dolce breakfast bowl, look it up. Okay, it's basically it's oats. So I love in the morning oatmeal. Love oatmeal. If I'm training, having an intense day, I'm gonna eat oatmeal. If it's not an intense day, let's say I'm just going in doing technique or whatnot, I'm gonna eat just dates. I love dates. So oatmeal or dates, those are my two favorite breakfasts. They're very easy to digest. When you train, it doesn't jump around in there. Like sometimes I have eggs, but sometimes it jumps around in there as you're rolling on the ground. Oats, flaxseed, any type of seed. Actually, you could put hemp seed, flaxseed, berries, any type of fruit. A little bit of maybe a spoon of almond butter, but I only use just a quarter cup of oats. Not a lot of oats, just a little bit. And you put in a little hot water in there, mix it up. It's delicious. It digests well. You got the grains. You got that power. You have that carbohydrate energy. You feel like you can go wrestle now. You feel like you can go hit the bag. You feel like you can do. You'll burn a lot more energy. You'll get a much more intense workout if you eat a good breakfast than if you train on an empty stomach. That's why I love, even when I'm fasting, I'll break my fast only if I'm doing an intense training, and I'll go and I'll train. And I feel that intense training negates whatever I eat. I'll burn it. I'll train a lot harder this way. All right, guys. With that said, I'm going to sign off. Guys, do me a favor. Support this channel. Buy yourself a t-shirt. Check it out. It's free shipping for the continental US. Buy a shirt. Buy a instructional video. I hope to do another instructional video very shortly. I'm thinking of doing it either on butterfly guard or omoplata. It's funny that we talked about omoplata in this episode. For those of you who want to see butterfly or omoplata, let me know in the comments. I really do look at your comments, guys. I do look at your comments. I don't always respond, but I do look at them, and I will make it. I'll make whatever you guys want me to make. So I'm interested in making my next instructional either on butterfly guard or omoplata. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.